Hi everybody, it's Christian from Serene Education with the 4 major signals update for the 24th of October 2012. Hope you had a fantastic trading day yesterday. Let's have a look and see what's been happening on the markets and get a feel of what's likely to occur for today. Yesterday, bearish engulfing candle on the daily, taking us lower. A lot of indecisive here. Look, price being capped to the upside and price being capped overall here at 1500 recently. So we have now a physical resistance area above price here in the shape of the 1500 mark, and since then price has noticeably pulled back. So I'm just going to make you guys see that. There we go. So where to? Well, previously when it came unstuck here at the 1500, price reverted towards the institution moving average. Here near term price bounced off this institution moving average and headed back up towards those highs at 1359, but capped by an evening star formation and price reverted back to the 128500 mark, back to the institution. Here again we could see the potential outlook being exactly the same though. And near term, yesterday we saw price trading well below the 1295 mark, however being by the end of close of last night, price had actually pulled back above the 20 period moving average, and just recently 20 period moving average acting as a nice little support here as price headed towards that all important 1500. So we do need to see that being breached as soon as possible. Price yesterday did trade below and closed lower than the 13300 mark. So that was also very, very important. So I'm just going to make sure you guys can see that. There we go. Put that in so you guys can see that. So as long as price remains below the 1300 here, then ultimately we should see price continue her trend to the downside. So very, very important. We have a lot of news out this morning for Europe, and it's especially between 9 and 10 is absolutely crazy, absolutely ridiculous how much it is. So rather, if you're not trading anything, rather wait and see. Look at trading potentially after 12 o'clock this afternoon to see where price is actually finished after all this news announcements come out. And if we're still trading below, ideally if we're trading below 1295 come end of the morning session or the European session, then let's look towards that 1285 for the remainder of this week. So we could see a consolidation bounce here near term. So if we're looking at the intraday stuff, we want to be able to make sure that the 1300 on our smaller time frames is well noted on our intraday time frames. So there we go. I just want to do that quickly. Is on my hourly, just clearly get an idea of where price is trading near term and where that 1300 is. And you can quite clearly see we had a nice breakout yesterday, and then we've had a pullback ever since the 2 o'clock GMT session yesterday. We've just seen pullback, price pulling back. And near term, you can see that the bodies have now kind of faded to the upside. You can see there's clearly a body resistance here at a specific level, and if you look at it, it's roughly around the 1290, 1285, 100 mark. So as long as there's a clear body resistance here and price fails to move any higher than that, ultimately we're going to see price rolling over again. You can see the histogram on the hourly is still looking negative. All I'm moving up above price. And if you want to see a nice break and trade to the downside intraday, then we're going to see this consolidation area here being breached. So consolidation break here, the Asian session support area here at 1297, that being broken, then we should see potential for price just to continue her merrily way to the downside. On to sterling, let's have a look and see what happened yesterday. Also a fall to the downside, very similar, the candle to the European session, the actual European range yesterday, negativity, price being capped here at 16300. We know that very well, that we've been in this area before, and sure enough we've seen price now falling to the downside as long as that 16300 is in play. So just got to be well aware of that, price moving lower. And what we want to see now is as price has been moving lower, yesterday it broke on our psychological level in the shape of the 1600 mark. As the European broke that psychological level on the 1300 mark, 1600 is the sterling or the GDP US dollar psychological level here, and you can see on Morningstar and price revert to the upside. And then we've had bearish engulfing, then price retested. I said to you yesterday, if we did see price bouncing on here yesterday, and we saw a bullish engulfing candle, that would be consistent with a prior Morningstar, and we should have seen price heading back up towards potentially the swing low formation here in the shape of roughly around the 1610. That failed to materialize because by the latter part of the European session, price had actually broken lower. Nice bearish engulfing candle on the, I think it was 11 a.m. GMT yesterday morning, and price reverted to the downside. However, you can see over the Asian session, we've seen price reverting back up again. A major pullback for this pair, and in doing so, it is now tested the underside of the major support and resistance level, psychological support and resistance level, in the shape of the 1600 mark. So as long as it maintains below that, however, then we should see price continuing her merry way to the downside. If we don't see that and price managed to get back up above it, then we could see potential for price to consolidate yet again in this range and head up towards the 1610. So very, very important. As I mentioned earlier, there's a hell of a lot of news out for the European session. So that's going to reflect whatever happens with the sterling price, primarily because we are so closely tied with Europe. So any news that comes out negative potentially for the Eurozone could impact sterling in terms of a bit of bullishness. So very, very important to rather stand aside, see what happens this morning with all this European news that's coming out, and then this afternoon make a calculated decision as what to do. If it's still below 1600, then potentially start to see price reverting to the downside again near term. If, however, if the sterling breaks above 1600 again, then look to see if on the US session price can build on that momentum. Okay. Moving on to the US dollar Swiss franc, let's have a look at this pair. Yesterday, bullish engulfing as the euro and sterling fell yesterday. The US dollar was able to gain momentum on that, and sure enough, we saw the US dollar gain against the Swiss franc. The intermediate trend, you can quite clearly see, is still to the downside, and we are in contact now with that intermediate downtrend as we speak. As you can see, swing lows, swing lows, swing lows have pretty much been giving us the confirmation that price should be heading, well, it is looking particularly negative on this one. The institution up since mid-August has been negative. Price has been making its way towards the institution, and since the September, we've seen price actually trading below the institution moving average in the shape of the 940, which is a psychological negative sentiment. And you can see that we were channeling up until just recently between 930 and that all-important 940. So if you want to go down to 925 in particular, you could do so. There's a clear defined channel here at the underside of this major support and resistance level here in the shape of the institution moving average. As long as the institution is above price, then we should still be looking for price to still look negative on this. The only outcome for this to be positive would be to see the US dollar gain a bit of strength near term. Ideally, the only thing that's really going to look positive long term here would be to see price actually trading higher than that major resistance level near term here in the shape of the 940. Otherwise, you can potentially see price driving into it and then consolidative. So we want to see, ideally, because everything's looking negative, to see if that sentiment runs through this today in particular, after all the news that's going to come out on Europe this morning. If we still see we have a bearish harami here, ideally if price is trading lower than 50% of yesterday's candle, then we're likely to see price now giving up the ghost for the US session and then trading back towards these areas here, roughly around the 925 mark. Last pair of the day is US dollar Japanese yen. Let's have a look at this pair and see where we're trading. Noticeably, a lot of momentum near term for the US dollar against its counterpart, and we've seen the last couple of weeks being very positive for the US dollar against the yen. However, near term trading into a major support and resistance level in the shape of the 80 mark, which goes back to major support and resistance levels. If I just zoom out here, you can see through 2011 a lot of support for this particular pair, and near term you can see a lot of resistance for the pair. Since May of this year, we've seen a lot of opportunities where price have actually tested it, and in some cases actually broken through it However, hadn't been able to actually continue with that momentum, and it's clearly been resistance on a number of occasions. So near term, you can see the histogram starting to go, well, it has been blue for a while, trading above the institution, which is important. As long as it maintains above the institution, then that sentiment should be looking still positive to the upside. However, because we've come into contact with the 80, we've had a clear pullback, and that confirmed yesterday with that little pullback. However, you can see that yesterday's candle still trading at the upper end of that overall range, that candle range, closing 50%. Yes, it was negative, but still closing higher than the 50%. Last night's candle very indecisive, with a spinning top at the moment. The one thing to remember though is if it can maintain above ideally the 23.6 fib retracement, then it still will be constituted as positive sentiment, and we should see price reverting to the upside or reattempting the 80 quite soon. So if you can see where I've taken this buying move to the upside here, notice the institution moving average there and the 23.6 actually they are pretty much smack bang with each other. So that confirms that if price continues to pull back, as long as it stays within this range for the remainder of this week, we could potentially see price reverting or reattempting the 80 mark quite soon. So ideally, for this to be long term or to be positive still long term, 80 would need to be broken or breached and a nice support being found above it. And if you get above the 80, you can quite clearly see that there is potential for price to move higher. There's one or two areas here we see slight consolidation just above the 80-50 mark to start with. Then we have a bigger gap between the next one, just below the 82, and then the all-important 84 way up here. So there's three definite targets to the upside for this particular pair, and we just need to get a confirmed break and support being found above 80 to confirm that. Near term, as long as we have resistance at 80, then we should be looking for intraday potential pullback trades, and our first port of call would be roughly around here at the institutional level here on our daily, which would constitute to the 79.50 on that time frame. So that's it, guys. Hope you have a fantastic trading day today. Please be aware there's a hell of a lot of news out for Europe, for the European session, it's the Euro. So if you're not trading, rather stand aside, see what happens with all the news that filters out today for the morning session, and then look to pick up any trades this afternoon. We do have a lot of news also out for the US session. We have more important flash manufacturing PMI results. We have, for the US, we have the FOMC statement. Okay, people like to look at the FOMC statement to see if there's going to be any change in interest rates announcements. We have the federal fund rate. So that's going to also be important because it's going to be quite important to see if that interest rate gets moved. At the moment now, 0.25%. They're expecting no change on the forecast. Let's see if anything happens. So FOMC and the federal. Then we have this evening, we have the official interest rate announcement for the New Zealand dollar. That's also going to be quite important. So a hell of a lot of news out today, guys. Very, very important. Also, one that really sticks to mind is to see what 10-year bond yields are like for the German bonds. And that's a tentative figure this morning. So it'll be interesting to see how the 10-year bond auction goes this morning on Germany. Being the might behind Europe, it'll be interesting to see how those 10-year bonds go. Other than that, please keep it simple. Follow the rules of this particular template if you are using it. If not, if you're interested in getting to be taught it, please check out sereneeducation.com for further news on that. If you are new to trading and you want to get a nice little foothold into what to do or how to approach the Forex market, we do have a course. If you go to www.forexmadeeasy.com and have a look at that website to tell you more about it. Otherwise, have a fantastic trading day, and I'll see you first thing tomorrow morning. Until then, trade serenely.